The emergency alarm blasted through every corner of Andromeda Station. Red lights flashed in the hallways as thousands of beings from different planets stopped what they were doing and looked up in fear. The message that came through the speakers made everyone's blood run cold, no matter what color that blood happened to be. Emperor Talon, the most dangerous creature in the entire universe, was sending his baby dragon to their station. The Dragon Empire had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, and everyone knew one simple rule: never, ever make a dragon angry. Now they were trusting the Galactic Council to take care of a royal dragon baby. Commander Hune stood in the big landing area, waiting. He was tall and covered in green scales because he came from a planet of reptile people. Next to him stood Dr. Mireille. She had 8 long arms like an octopus, and her skin changed colors when she felt nervous. Right now, her skin was flashing between purple and gray very fast. Behind them, 50 soldiers from different planets stood ready with weapons, even though everyone knew their guns would be useless against the dragon. The transport ship came down from the sky. When it landed, the whole station shook like an earthquake had hit it. The metal door of the ship opened slowly, and hot air rushed out. It smelled like burning rocks and made everyone cough. Then they heard the sound. It was a scream so full of anger and hate that half the soldiers dropped their weapons and ran away. The baby dragon walked out of the ship. He was small for a dragon, only as big as a bus, but power came off him in waves that made the air look wavy and strange. His scales were dark red with edges of gold. His eyes glowed like 2 small suns, and smoke came out of his nose every time he breathed. A much bigger dragon came out behind the baby. This was a dragon ambassador, so huge that his head scraped the ceiling of the landing bay. The big dragon's voice sounded like rocks grinding together when he spoke. This is Prince Daejin, first son of Emperor Talon. He has refused to work with 17 teachers. He burned down 4 training buildings. He bit 3 of his own brothers and sisters. The Emperor says he must learn to behave around other species, or he will be kicked out of the royal family forever. Commander Hune tried to sound brave. We will do our very best to help him learn and grow in a safe environment where he can. Prince Daejin roared so loud that everyone covered their ears. Fire shot out of his mouth and burned the ceiling above them. Then, something even worse happened. The dragon's voice appeared inside everyone's head at the same time, like someone was shouting directly into their brains. I am not a pet for you weak creatures to control. I will burn this whole station to ashes and dance in the flames. The dragon ambassador and his helpers quickly left, practically running back to their ship. They sealed the landing bay doors behind them, locking the angry baby dragon inside. Commander Hune and Dr. Mireille backed away slowly, their eyes wide with fear. Dr. Mireille's 8 arms were shaking. What have we agreed to do? That dragon is going to kill us all. High above the landing bay, there was a special room with big windows where people could look down and see everything below. In that room, a small human boy pressed his face against the glass. His name was Jiho, and he was only 8 years old. His parents had brought him to Andromeda Station just 3 weeks ago because his mother worked as a diplomat for Earth. While everyone else saw a monster that wanted to kill them, Jiho saw something completely different. He saw a kid who was scared and angry and missed his home. The dragon's eyes looked exactly like Jiho's eyes had looked when his parents told him they were moving far away from Earth, far away from his friends and his dog and his grandmother. Mom, Jiho whispered, pulling on his mother's sleeve. That dragon is sad. His mother, Yoonji, was busy talking to other diplomats and didn't really hear him. That's nice, dear. Stay away from the windows. But Jiho kept watching. The baby dragon was alone now in the big empty landing bay. He walked in circles, his tail hitting the walls and leaving black burn marks. Every few minutes, he would lift his head and scream, shooting fire at the ceiling. Jiho could feel the anger coming from the dragon, but underneath that anger was something else. Something that felt like the hole in Jiho's heart when he had to say goodbye to his grandmother before leaving Earth. For 3 whole days, Prince Daejin made life terrible for everyone on the station. He melted through 2 big metal doors that were supposed to keep him contained. Every time someone sent a robot in with food, he burned it to pieces. His angry roars gave everyone headaches because they could feel his voice in their minds. People started having nightmares about being burned alive. Children cried. Even the toughest soldiers looked nervous. The Galactic Council held emergency meetings every day. Emperor Talon sent messages asking how his son was doing, and each message sounded more threatening than the last. Everyone knew that if they failed to help Prince Daejin, the Dragon Empire might go to war with the entire Galactic Council. Commander Hune called together all the smartest people on the station. They sat around a big table covered with pictures and data about the dragon. "We are running out of time and options," Commander Hune said, his green scales looking dull and tired. "The Emperor expects us to make progress with his son, but we cannot even get close enough to talk to him." Captain Sunyo, the head of security, clicked his insect mandibles nervously. He looked like a giant praying mantis standing on two legs. "Perhaps we could build a stronger cage to hold him inside." Dr. Mire's 8 arms gestured to the screen showing information about dragons. "No, that will not work. When Prince Daejin gets angry, he becomes more powerful. A stronger cage will only make him angrier, and then he will be strong enough to break through anything we build." Another council member, a floating jellyfish-like creature, suggested, "What about giving him sleeping drugs?" "Dragons process toxins and drugs as food," Dr. Mire explained patiently. "If we try to drug him, we will only make him stronger and more dangerous. Plus, if we drug an imperial prince without permission, Emperor Talon will definitely declare war on us. We will all die." Everyone around the table looked depressed and scared. They had no ideas left. Nobody noticed a small human boy sitting in the corner with his mother, drawing pictures with crayons while the adults talked. Jiho had been listening to everything. He tugged on his mother's sleeve again, harder this time. "Mom, can I try?" Yoonji smiled, but she was not really paying attention. "Try what, sweetie?" "Talking to the dragon. He's lonely and sad. I want to help him." Several of the alien council members heard this and started laughing. It was not mean laughter, but the kind of laughter adults do when a child says something cute and silly. Commander Hune's face softened. He looked at Jiho kindly. "That is very brave, young man, but this is an extremely dangerous situation. That dragon has destroyed everything that came near him." "But he's not really dangerous," Jiho said with the absolute certainty that only children have. "He's sad. His thoughts feel like how I felt when I had to leave all my friends on Earth. When you're really sad, sometimes you get angry at everything." Dr. Mire's skin suddenly flashed bright yellow, which meant she was surprised. "Wait! You can sense the dragon's emotions? But humans are not telepathic. Humans cannot read minds." Jiho shook his head. "I can't hear his words like he puts them in people's heads. But I can feel how he feels. He's really, really sad and scared inside. He acts angry because he doesn't want anyone to know he's scared. My grandma used to say that people who act the meanest are usually the ones hurting the most inside." A heavy silence fell over the meeting room. All the adults looked at each other with wide eyes. Commander Hune and Dr. Mire had a long conversation with just their eyes, not saying anything out loud. Finally, Commander Hune spoke slowly. "The boy might be right. Young beings often understand each other in ways that adults cannot. But I cannot allow a child to go into that landing bay. If something went wrong, if the dragon hurt him, I could never forgive myself." Yoonji stood up, her face pale but her jaw set with determination. "Jiho is my son. I will take full responsibility for anything that happens. But I think we should at least let him try talking to the dragon from a safe distance. If Prince Daejin responds well to Jiho, then we will know there is hope. If the dragon gets angry, we will stop immediately." The council argued for 2 more hours. Finally, they agreed to let Jiho try, but only from the observation room with the thick windows, far above the landing bay where the dragon could not reach him. They made Jiho sign papers. His mother had to sign even more papers. The papers said that nobody could blame the station if something bad happened to the boy. Everyone was very nervous as they walked toward the observation room above the landing bay. Dr. Mire kept checking her medical equipment. Captain Sunyo had his hand on his weapon. Commander Hune walked with his communication device ready to call for emergency help at any second. The observation room had a special floor made of super strong clear material. You could look down through it and see everything in the landing bay below. When they entered the room, Jiho ran straight to the window floor and looked down. Prince Daejin was curled up in the middle of a huge burn circle. The floor around him was black and melted from his fire. Smoke rolled from his red and gold scales. Every few minutes, he would lift his head and blast the walls with flames, making a sound that was half roar and half scream. The sound was so sad and angry at the same time that it made Jiho's chest hurt. Jiho knelt down on the clear floor and put his small hand against the cold surface. He spoke softly, like he was talking to a scared puppy. "Hello, my name is Jiho. I'm sorry you're so upset." The dragon's head snapped up so fast it was like lightning. His burning eyes focused on the small human boy looking down at him from above. For a moment, nobody breathed. Nobody moved. The dragon stared at Jiho with eyes that could melt steel. Then Prince Dajin's voice exploded into Jiho's mind. Everyone in the observation room heard it too and grabbed their heads in pain. "You dare speak to me, human child? You dare address a prince of the Dragon Empire?" But Jiho did not look scared. He just looked sad. "You look really sad. I was sad too when I first came here. I miss my dog Bailey. I miss my friends from school. I miss my grandmother who used to make me cookies." The dragon's eyes got narrow and suspicious, but he did not shoot fire. His voice in their heads was still loud but not quite as angry. "I am not sad. I am furious. I am a prince. I should not be locked in a cage and treated like a pet by creatures who are beneath me." Jiho tilted his head to the side like a confused puppy. "Then why do you sound like you're about to cry? My grandma used to say that people who yell the loudest are usually the ones who are most scared inside." For several long seconds, the dragon just stared up at the boy. The smoke coming from his nose got slower. His tail stopped hitting the walls. Then, so quietly that only Jiho could hear it in his mind, the dragon whispered, "Because I miss my mother." Jiho smiled, not a happy smile but an understanding smile. "I miss my grandma too. She died before we came to the station. Sometimes I cry about it at night when my mom thinks I'm sleeping." The dragon made a sound that might have been a whimper. "You understand loss, even at your small age." "Everyone understands loss," Jiho said simply. "It doesn't matter how old you are or what planet you're from. Missing someone hurts the same for everyone." Up in the observation room, Dr. Mireille was staring at her instruments with her mouth hanging open. "This is impossible. The dragon's stress levels just dropped by 40%. His body temperature is decreasing. His brain waves are showing patterns of calm attention instead of rage." Commander Hune leaned close to the window, watching in amazement. The boy is actually getting through to him. Nobody has ever calmed an angry dragon before, not in 10,000 years of galactic history. Every day after that, Jiho visited the observation room 3 times. He would talk to Prince Dajin through the clear floor. Jiho told the dragon about Earth. He described oceans that were so big you could not see the other side. He talked about forests where trees grew as tall as buildings. He explained how seasons worked, how leaves changed colors in autumn and snow fell in winter. He told stories about his grandmother's house, about birthday parties, about playing in parks. Prince Dajin listened to every word like he was memorizing a precious book. Sometimes he would ask questions. What is snow? Is it cold fire? Sometimes he would share his own stories about his home world, the Crimson Peaks, where mountains were actually volcanoes and dragons flew in groups that painted the sky with fire. But there was still a big problem. The dragon would only be calm when Jiho was there. The moment any adult came near the observation room, even Jiho's mother, Prince Dajin would start roaring and shooting fire again. His eyes would glow brighter, and his rage would fill everyone's minds with pain. Dr. Mireille studied the dragon carefully through remote cameras. She told Commander Hune, "This is remarkable but also frustrating. The dragon's entire emotional state depends on the presence of one 8-year-old boy. We cannot run a diplomatic program this way." Commander Hune rubbed his tired eyes. Emperor Talon is getting impatient. He wants his son participating in cultural exchange programs, meeting beings from different planets, learning to be a proper ambassador. Right now, all his son does is talk to one human child through a window. A week passed. The friendship between Jiho and Prince Dajin grew stronger, but the dragon refused to cooperate with anyone else. Then Jiho made a request that terrified every adult on the station. "I want to go down there. I want to go into the landing bay with him." Yunji's face went white as paper. Her hands started shaking. "Absolutely not. No. Never. I will not allow it." But, Mom, he won't hurt me. I know he won't. He's my friend. Jiho, he has burned everything that entered that bay to ashes, Commander Hune said gently, crouching down to look at the boy at eye level. I believe he likes you very much. But dragons are unpredictable, especially young ones. One moment of anger, one small mistake, and you could be hurt very badly. Or worse. Jiho's eyes filled with tears, but his voice stayed strong. He's not like that with me. You're all still treating him like he's a monster. But he's not a monster. He's just a kid like me. He needs a real friend, not guards and scientists watching him through cameras all the time. Dr. Mirai's arms waved thoughtfully. The boy makes a valid point. We have approached the situation entirely wrong from the beginning. We have treated Prince Daejin as a dangerous animal to be contained, not as a child who needs care and understanding. Captain Sunyo's insect eyes looked worried. That is because he is dangerous. He could destroy this entire station if he wanted to. We have to think about safety first. Then maybe that's exactly why we need to stop treating him like a threat, Jiho said, sounding much wiser than his 8 years. If you keep treating someone like they are bad, they'll start acting bad because they figure that's what you expect anyway. Please, let me try. Let me show him that someone trusts him. The adults argued for 3 whole days. Messages from Emperor Talon were getting angrier and more threatening. One message was so full of rage that the communication device actually started smoking. Finally, desperate and out of options, they agreed to let Jiho try. But there were rules. Jiho had to wear a special protective suit. They would have emergency extraction protocols ready, which meant they had plans to pull Jiho out very fast if things went wrong. Every weapon on the station would be aimed at the landing bay, ready to fire if the dragon attacked the boy. Nobody was happy with this plan, but nobody had a better idea. They dressed Jiho in a suit that was way too big for him. The helmet made his head look like a bubble. His mother knelt in front of him, her hand shaking as she checked his suit for the 10th time. Tears ran down her face. If anything feels wrong, if he seems angry at all, you run to the emergency exit as fast as you can. Promise me, Jiho. Promise me right now. Jiho hugged his mother tight. The suit made it awkward, but he squeezed as hard as he could. I promise, Mom, but you don't need to worry. He won't hurt me. I know he won't. Friends don't hurt each other. The landing bay doors opened with a loud hissing sound. Jiho stepped through. The doors sealed behind him with a heavy clang that sounded like a prison door closing. Through every camera on the station, hundreds of beings from dozens of planets watched. They watched the smallest human boy walk toward the most dangerous creature in the galaxy. Prince Daejin raised his huge head. Smoke curled from his nostrils. His eyes glowed like 2 suns as he watched the tiny figure approaching him. Jiho walked slowly across the burned floor of the landing bay. His footsteps echoed in the huge empty space. The protective suit felt heavy and hot. Above him, through the observation windows, he could see his mother's face press against the glass. She looked terrified. Prince Daejin watched every step the boy took. His massive head followed Jiho's movement like a cat watching a mouse. The dragon's claws scraped against the metal floor, making sounds like sword being sharpened. Smoke poured from his nostrils in thick clouds. Finally, Jiho stopped walking. He was about 10 feet away from the dragon's face. That was close enough to touch if the dragon stretched his neck out, but far enough to maybe run if something went wrong. The boy took off his helmet because he wanted the dragon to see his face properly. Prince Daejin's voice filled Jiho's mind, confused and suspicious. Why have you entered my prison, little human? Why do you come so close when you know I could kill you with 1 breath of fire? Jiho smiled, that bright, fearless smile that only children have. It's not a prison if you have a friend inside with you. And I thought maybe you'd like some real company. Not just talking through a window, but actually being together. The dragon's eyes blazed brighter, but not with anger. It was something else. Something confused and vulnerable and maybe a little bit scared. I could kill you so easily. I could crush you with 1 claw. I could burn you to ash. Why do you not fear me like everyone else does? Jiho thought about this question carefully. Then he said, because I know what it's like to be somewhere scary and new. I know what it's like to miss home so much that it feels like your chest has a hole in it. And I know that when I felt like that, I didn't want people to be afraid of me. I just wanted someone to understand. Someone to see that I was hurting inside, The dragon was very still, so still that he looked like a statue. Then, slowly, his voice came again, quieter this time. You truly understand? You, a human child who has lived for almost no time at all, you understand the pain of a dragon prince. Pain is pain, Jiho said simply. It doesn't matter if you're a human or dragon or anything else. When you're sad and lonely, it hurts the same way for everyone. My grandma told me that before she died. She said that's why we should always be kind, because everyone is fighting a battle we can't see. For the first time since arriving at Andromeda Station, Prince Daijin moved in a way that was not angry or violent. He lowered his massive head slowly, carefully, until it rested on the ground in front of Jiho. His eyes, still glowing but softer now, looked directly at the small boy. I do miss my home. The dragon's voice was barely a whisper in Jiho's mind. I miss my mother's warmth when she would curl around me at night. I miss flying with my brothers and sisters through the volcanic clouds. I miss the taste of fire crystals from the deep caverns. I miss being understood. Hey, everyone looks at me like I am a monster, a weapon, a threat, but I am just a child, like you said, a scared child who was sent away from everything he knew. Jiho took a step forward, then another. His small legs carried him right up to the dragon's enormous snout. Slowly, carefully, he reached out his hand. His fingers were tiny compared to even one of the dragon's scales. Then let's be friends, Jiho whispered. Real friends. And maybe this place won't feel so scary for either of us anymore. He placed his hand on the dragon's snout, right between those glowing eyes. The scales were warm. Not burning hot like everyone feared, but warm like a heated blanket on a cold night. They vibrated softly with the dragon's breathing. Prince Daijin's eyes closed. For the first time since arriving at the station, the angry young dragon felt something other than rage. He felt peace. In the observation room, Yunji collapsed into a chair, crying with relief. Dr. Mirei's 8 arms were waving in excitement as she checked her instruments. Commander Hyun stood with his mouth open, unable to believe what he was seeing. The dragon's vital signs are completely normal, Dr. Mirei announced, her voice shaking with emotion. No stress markers. No aggression hormones. His brain waves show contentment. Actual contentment. This is unprecedented in dragon psychology. From that day forward, everything changed. Jiho spent hours every day in the landing bay with Prince Daijin. At first, they just talked. The boy would sit against the dragon's warm side like he was leaning against a big, comfortable couch. He told more stories about Earth. He described snow in detail, how it was cold and white and melted on your tongue. He explained about dogs and cats and how humans kept animals as friends, not as food. Prince Daijin shared his own stories. He described the crimson peaks in detail that made Jiho's imagination soar. He talked about dragon festivals where hundreds of dragons would fly together, creating patterns in the sky with different colored flames. He explained about fire crystals that grew deep underground and how young dragons would compete to find the brightest ones. He told Jiho about his mother, how she was gentle and kind, not cold and distant like his father. Do you have friends back home? Jiho asked one day. He was lying on his back on the dragon's side, looking up at the ceiling of the landing bay. Prince Daijin's voice carried sadness. I had rivals, competitors. In the Dragon Empire, even brothers and sisters see each other as threats to the throne. Friendship is considered a weakness that can be exploited. My father says emotions make rulers vulnerable. That's why he sent me here. He thinks I am too emotional, too weak because I care about things. Jiho sat up, his young face very serious. You're not weak. Being able to feel things and care about people is what makes you strong. My grandma used to say that the bravest people are the ones who can be kind even when they are hurting inside. Anyone can be mean when they're angry. It takes real courage to be nice. The dragon was quiet for a long time. Then his massive head turned to look at the small boy sitting on his back. Your grandmother sounds like she was very wise. I wish I could have met her. Is she on this station? Gio's eyes got shiny with tears. No, she died before we came here. She got sick and the doctors couldn't fix her. That's part of why I was so sad when we first arrived. I miss her every single day. She was my best friend. Prince Daijin's huge head lowered, and he very gently nuzzled Jiho with his snout. It was the most careful, tender movement anyone had ever seen a dragon make. Then we both know the pain of loss. Perhaps that is why we understand each other so well. We both know what it is to have a hole in our hearts. Jiho hugged the dragon's snout, his small arms not even reaching halfway around it. Maybe we can help fill those holes for each other. That's what friends do, right? They make the hurt a little bit less. 2 weeks after Jiho first entered the landing bay, something amazing happened. The boy convinced Prince Daejin to let another person come inside. But there were strict rules. The person had to come alone, with no weapons, and Jiho had to introduce him properly. The dragon would only agree if Jiho promised to stay the whole time. Dr. Mirai was chosen because she was kind and gentle, and because she genuinely wanted to help the dragon, not just study him like an experiment. The day she entered the landing bay, her 8 arms were shaking with nervousness. Your name means future, right? Jiho asked her as they walked across the burned floor together. That's a really cool meaning. Dr. Mirai's skin flashed with pleased colors. Yes, my parents hoped I would help shape tomorrow, though I never imagined it would be by making friends with a dragon prince. Prince Daejin watched them approach with suspicious eyes. Smoke curled from his nostrils. His muscles were tense, ready to attack or defend. But Jiho walked calmly between the dragon and the doctor. Jiho stepped between Dr. Mirai and Prince Daejin with his arms spread wide like he were protecting both of them at the same time. He looked up at the dragon with his bright, trusting eyes. Daejin, this is Dr. Mirai. She's really nice and she's been worried about you. She wants to make sure you're healthy and happy. She's not here to study you like you're some weird bug under a microscope. She's here as a healer, like a dragon doctor would be. She wants to help. The dragon's voice rumbled in their minds, suspicious and still a bit angry. We do not allow outsiders to examine us. Dragon bodies are sacred. Our secrets are ours alone. Jiho tilted his head. Not even friends? Because I think Dr. Mirai could be our friend. She knows about so many different planets and species. She could teach us amazing things. And wouldn't it be good to know if you're healthy? What if you got sick and nobody knew how to help you because they didn't understand dragon bodies? The dragon considered this. He was still young, and young creatures are naturally curious no matter what species they belong to. Slowly, carefully, he lowered his head closer to Dr. Mirai. His burning eyes studied her 8 arms and her changing skin colors. You may approach, Prince Daejin said finally, his mental voice less hostile. But if you try to hurt me or the boy, I will turn you to ash so quickly you will not even have time to scream. Dr. Mirai's skin flashed respectful colors. Thank you for trusting me, Prince Daejin. I promise I am only here to help. I will explain everything I am doing before I do it. If anything makes you uncomfortable, just tell me and I will stop immediately. What happened next was the most careful medical examination in the history of the galaxy. Dr. Mirai moved slowly, talking in a soft, gentle voice. She explained every instrument before she used it. Jiho stood next to the dragon's head, gently petting his snout and telling him everything was okay. I am going to check your heartbeat now, Dr. Mirai said, showing the dragon a small device. This will not hurt at all. It just listens to the sound your heart makes so I can make sure it is working properly. The dragon tensed but allowed it. His eyes never left the doctor's 8 arms. Now I need to look at your scales. Some of them look a bit dull, and I want to make sure that is normal or if it means you need different food. Jiho piped up. Is it like how my mom checks if I'm eating enough vegetables by looking at my fingernails? Exactly like that, Dr. Mirai said with a kind smile. After an hour of very patient work, Dr. Mirai had finished her examination. She stepped back and bowed respectfully to the dragon. You are healthy, Prince Daejin, but you are stressed. The dull scales, the constant tension in your muscles, the elevated stress hormones in your breath. They all tell me you are very anxious and upset. This is not surprising given the circumstances. So what does he need? Jiho asked, concerned for his friend. Dr. Mirai's arms gestured thoughtfully. He needs enrichment. His mind is incredibly advanced for his age. He is very intelligent and curious. Being locked in an empty room with nothing to do is like torture for a mind like his. Imagine if someone put you in a white room with no toys, no books, no games, nothing to do but sit there day after day. That is what we have accidentally done to the prince. Later that day, Dr. Mireille presented her findings to the Galactic Council. Commander Hune listened carefully as she explained. We have been treating Prince Dajin as a security threat first and the child second. We need to reverse that completely. He needs mental stimulation. He needs activities that challenge his natural dragon instincts. He needs to fly, to hunt, to solve problems, to learn new things. And most importantly, he needs to feel like he belongs somewhere instead of feeling like a prisoner. Commander Hune nodded slowly, his scale face thoughtful. What do you recommend we do? First, we expand his living space. Second, we create environments that feel natural to him. Third, we introduce educational activities that interest him. And fourth, she paused and gestured to the video screen showing Jiho and the dragon playing with holographic projections that Jiho had brought. We acknowledge that this 8-year-old human child has succeeded where all our advanced diplomatic protocols failed. Perhaps it is time we started learning from him instead of just protecting him. Over the next 2 weeks, the station transformed part of itself for Prince Dajin. They created a massive area that mimicked volcanic mountains using holograms and temperature controls. They installed flying spaces with different wind currents for him to practice in. They brought in problem-solving games that challenged his mind. They even created a small artificial lava pool that the dragon could swim in. But the biggest change was in Prince Dajin himself. With Jiho's friendship and Dr. Mireille's gentle care, the angry, terrifying dragon started becoming a curious, playful young creature. He still had a temper sometimes. He still shot fire when he got frustrated. But now he also laughed, a sound like rumbling thunder that shook the walls in a good way. Jiho taught the dragon human games. They played hide and seek, which was funny because a giant dragon is not good at hiding. They played trivia games where the dragon would share fact about his empire and Jiho would share fact about Earth. They even made up a new game where the dragon would create sculptures out of molten metal with his fire breath, and Jiho would try to guess what they were. One afternoon, while they were resting after a long play session, Jiho asked a question that had been on his mind. Dajin, do you think you'll ever go home? The dragon's eyes dimmed a little. Eventually I must return. My father expects me to come back changed. Stronger, more controlled. He wants me to be the perfect dragon prince, cold and powerful and unfeeling. But you are strong, Jiho protested. You're one of the strongest people I know. And not just because you can breathe fire and fly. You're strong because you were brave enough to try something new. You were brave enough to make friends even though your whole culture says friendship is weakness. Prince Dajin lowered his head to rest it near Jiho. Do you really think so? Sometimes I worry that my father is right, that caring about others makes me vulnerable, that having friends makes me weak. Jiho stood up and put his small hand on the dragon's nose. My grandma used to tell me a story. She said that the strongest tree in the forest is not the one that stands alone on the hill where everyone can see it. That tree gets knocked down by the first big storm because it has nothing to protect it. The strongest trees are the ones that grow together in a forest because their roots connect underground and hold each other up. They share water and nutrients and warnings about danger. Together, they can survive storms that would destroy a single tree. The dragon thought about this for a long time. So you are saying that connection is strength, not weakness. That's exactly what I'm saying. And I think deep down, you know it's true. That's why you're happier now than when you first came here. Not because you got weaker, but because you got stronger by letting people care about you. Prince Dajin made a sound that was almost like a purr. You are very wise for such a small creature. Jiho, I am fortunate to have you as my friend. And I'm fortunate to have you, Jiho said, leaning against the warm scales. But their peaceful time was about to end. The next morning, a message came from Emperor Talon that changed everything. The Emperor himself was coming to Andromeda Station to see his son. The most powerful being in the universe, the dragon who had never left his throne world in anyone's living memory, was coming in person. And everyone knew this could either be the best thing that had ever happened, or the worst. The message from Emperor Talon sent waves of panic through Andromeda Station. The Emperor was coming in 3 days. Everyone ran around preparing for his arrival, cleaning everything, checking security systems, and trying not to imagine all the terrible things that could go wrong. Commander Hune looked exhausted. His scales had lost their shine from stress. The Emperor thinks we have failed. He is coming to take Prince Daejin home and probably cut off all diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. This could mean war. In the landing bay, Jiho noticed immediately that something was wrong with his friend. Prince Daejin lay curled in a tight ball, his scales darker than usual, barely any smoke coming from his nostrils. The dragon looked small and scared, nothing like the confident young creature he had become over the past weeks. Jiho climbed up onto the dragon's back, something Prince Daejin now loved because it reminded him of his siblings climbing on him back home. "Hey, what's wrong? You've been quiet all day." The dragon's mental voice was heavy with sadness. "My father is coming. He will see that I have failed at everything he sent me here to do. He wanted me to become harder, colder, more powerful. Instead, I have become soft. I have made friends. I have learned to care about others. In his eyes, I have become the weak son he always feared I would be." "But you're not weak," Jiho said, his voice rising with emotion. "You're amazing. You can fly now without crashing. You can control your fire instead of just blasting everything. You can talk to people without threatening to burn them. You've learned so much." "I have learned to feel," the dragon said quietly. "I have learned to care about you, about Dr. Mireille, about others on this station. My father will see this as the greatest failure of all. He will take me home and train all of these feelings out of me. He will make me into the cold, isolated prince he wants me to be. And I will lose you, my friend." Jiho hugged the dragon's neck as tight as he could. "Then we'll show him his wrong. We'll prove to him that caring about others doesn't make you weak. It makes you stronger. We'll show him together." When Emperor Talon's warship arrived, it was so massive that it blocked out the stars. The ship was black with red markings that looked like fire frozen in metal. When it docked, the entire station shook like an earthquake. Emperor Talon himself emerged from the ship, and everyone who saw him understood immediately why he ruled an empire. He was 3 times bigger than his son, even though Prince Daejin was already huge. His scales were the deepest black, edged with crimson that glowed like hot coals. His eyes looked like entire galaxies burning inside his head. When he walked, his footsteps made the metal floor groan. The Galactic Council had prepared a fancy ceremony with speeches and presentations. But Prince Daejin had different plans. Before anyone could stop him, the young dragon burst from his bay and flew. Not in panic or rage like he had tried weeks ago, but with real skill and joy. He soared through the air, doing loops and spins and dives that made everyone gasp. He had been practicing in secret with Jiho's encouragement, and now he showed his father everything he had learned. The young dragon landed gracefully in front of Emperor Talon. For a long moment, father and son just stared at each other. The air felt electric with tension. Then Prince Daejin spoke, his mental voice clear and strong, broadcast so everyone on the station could hear. "Father, I have learned much during my time here. I have changed in ways you did not expect." Emperor Talon's voice was like Judgment Day itself, deep and terrifying. "You have learned to associate with lesser beings. You have weakened yourself with emotions and attachments. You have disappointed me." "No, father," Prince Daejin said, and there was no fear in his voice now. "I have expanded myself. I arrived here consumed by rage, destroying everything around me because I could not face my own fear and loneliness. I was powerful, yes, I could burn and break and terrify, but I was also miserable. I was so angry at the world that I could not see anything beautiful in it." The young dragon paused, then continued with growing confidence. "Then a small human boy did something no one else had dared to do. He walked into my fury without fear. He offered me kindness when I deserved none. He saw past my anger to the scared, lonely child underneath. And he taught me that true strength is not about dominating others. True strength is about choosing restraint, choosing connection, choosing to care about others even when caring makes you vulnerable." At that moment, Jiho stepped forward. His mother tried to grab him, to pull him back to safety, but the boy slipped through her fingers. He walked right up to the 2 massive dragons, his tiny human form looking impossibly small next to them. "Your Majesty," Jiho said, his voice steady even though his knees were shaking. "Prince Daejin is the bravest person I've ever met. He was so angry and so scared when he first came here. But he chose to try something different. He chose to open his heart even though everything in his culture told him that was wrong. That's not weakness. That's the hardest kind of strength there is. Emperor Talon's massive head lowered until one enormous burning eye was level with Jiho. The boy could feel the heat radiating from the dragon scales. He could see entire universes of ancient knowledge swirling in that terrible eye. You dare lecture me, small human? You, who will live for barely a century, presume to teach one who has ruled for thousands of years. Jiho swallowed hard but did not look away. I don't know about ruling empires, sir, but I know about being friends. And I know that your son is special. He's going to be an amazing emperor someday, not because he's the scariest or the most powerful, but because he understands that real leadership means caring about the people you protect. That's what makes him different. That's what makes him better. The emperor studied the small boy for what felt like forever. Then he said something that shocked everyone. You do not fear me. No, sir, Jiho admitted, because Daejin told me about his mom, how she sings to him when he's scared. And he told me that sometimes you play games with your children when nobody's watching. People who love their families can't be completely scary. They have good hearts, even if they hide them. For several heartbeats, Emperor Talon was completely still. Everyone held their breath, certain the Emperor would be furious at having his private moments revealed. But then something impossible happened. The ancient dragon made a sound that could only be described as laughter. It was like thunder rolling across mountains, but with warmth in it. My son told you about our private family times. The Emperor's voice held something that might have been amusement. He has changed indeed. The old Daejin would never have trusted anyone with such information. Emperor Talon turned to his son. You are right. I sent you here to be hardened by isolation. Instead, you were softened by compassion. And in that softening, you found a strength I had forgotten existed. Your mother always said I was too rigid in my traditions. It appears she was correct, as usual. The Emperor's next words made everyone gasp. The Council fears I have come to end our diplomatic relations. They are wrong. I have come to strengthen them. Prince Daejin, you will return home, but you will also establish a new role. You will be ambassador of the young. You will travel between worlds, learning from other species, bringing back knowledge not of weapons or conquest, but a connection and understanding. Our empire has been strong for 10,000 years. Perhaps it is time we also became wise. Prince Daejin's eyes glowed brighter with hope. Father, you approve of what I have learned here. I approve of who you have become. Strong enough to be gentle, powerful enough to be kind. That is true imperial strength. Jiho jumped up and down with excitement. Does this mean Daejin can visit sometimes? Emperor Talon looked at the small boy, and his fierce expression softened slightly. It means, young human, that you have become the first non-dragon friend of the Empire. A title of great honor. My son will visit often, for his education requires continued interaction with brave souls like yourself. And perhaps I too have things yet to learn about strength and connection. When the time came for Prince Daejin to leave with his father, the young dragon nuzzled Jiho one last time. Thank you, my friend. You saw beyond my fire to the frightened child underneath. You showed me that being open to others does not make us weak. It makes us whole. Tears streamed down Jiho's face. I'll miss you so much, but I'm proud of you. You're going to change your whole empire. And you have already changed me. That is the greatest gift anyone has ever given me. As the Imperial ship prepared to leave, carrying the prince home, Commander Hyun put his hand on Jiho's shoulder. You have changed the course of history, young man. The Dragon Empire has never opened itself to other species before. Because of you, an entire empire might learn a new way. Jiho wiped his tears and smiled. I just made a friend. That's all. Dr. Mireille's 8 arms wrapped gently around the boy in a hug. That, Jiho, was everything. You reminded all of us that across every species, every culture, every form of life, the need for friendship and understanding is the same. And sometimes the smallest person teaches the greatest lesson. The story of the angry dragon prince and the brave human boy spread across the galaxy. It became a legend that parents told their children. A reminder that kindness can tame the fiercest heart, and that true strength comes not from standing alone, but from having the courage to connect with others.